To come to earth one more time, Antu decided. With Antu, his spouse, he wished to come. While his arrival they awaited, the Anunnaki abodes in the Eden to re-establish began. From the mountain lands where the descendants of Shem dwelt, to the olden land the black-headed people migrated. Upon the newly dried soil the Anunnaki let them settle, food for all to provide. Where Eridu, Enki's first city, before the deluge had stood, on top of the myriads of mud and silt, a new Eridu was marked out. In its center, upon a raised platform, an abode for Enki and Ninki was built. House of the Lord whose return is triumphant, it was called. With gold and silver and precious metals by Enki's sons provided, it was adorned. Above, in a circle skyward pointing, the 12 constellations by their signs were marked out. Below, as in the Abzu, waters with swimming fishes flowed. In a sanctuary, a place that no uninvited can enter, Enki the me formulas kept. For Enlil and Ninlil, a new Nibiru key atop the mud and silt was established. Amid its people, dwellings and cattle folds and stalls, a sacred precinct was walled. An abode for Enlil and Ninlil therein was built. In 7 stages it arose. A stairway rising to heaven to the topmost platform led. His tablets of destinies did Enlil there keep. With his weapons it was protected. The lifted eye that scans the lands, the lifted beam that penetrates all, in the courtyard, in its own enclosure, Enlil's fast-stepping skybird was kept. As the time for the arrival of Anu and Antu neared, for their stay in the Eden a new place was selected, neither Enlil's nor Enki's to be. Anugi, the delightful place it was named. Shade trees in it were planted, a pure white structure, the house of Anu, in its midst was built. Its exterior in 7 stages rose, its interior like a king's quarters was. When the celestial chariot of Anu at earth arrived, Anunnaki skyships toward it soared. For a safe landing at the place of chariots until moon it was guided. Utu, the place commander, his great-grandparents to earth welcomed. The 3 children of Anu, Enlil and Enki and Ninursag, stood there to greet them. They embraced and kissed. They laughed and cried. So long has the separation been. They to each other kept saying, at each other they looked, aging to examine. Though greater in shars were the parents, younger than the children they looked. The 2 sons looked old and bearded. Ninursag, once a beauty, was bent and wrinkled. All 5 of them with tears were filled. Tears of joy with sorrowed tears were mingled. In skyships were the guests and their hosts to the Eden taken. In a prepared place beside Anugi, the skyships landed. All the Anunnaki that on earth had stayed as an honor guard were standing. Hail and welcome, in unison to Anu and Antu they were shouting. Then, in a procession, singing and music playing, the Anunnaki to the house of Anu the guests accompanied. In the house of Anu, Anu washed and rested. Then he was perfumed and clothed. Antu, by female Anunnaki, to the house of the golden bed was escorted. There too she washed and rested. Then she was perfumed and clothed. In the open courtyard, as an evening breeze, the tree leaves rustled. Anu and Antu on thrones were seated. Flanking them were Enlil and Enki and Ninursag. Attendants, earthlings who were completely naked, wine and good oil served. Others, in a corner of the courtyard, a bull and a ram, gifts of Enlil and Enki, on a fire were roasting. A great banquet was for Anu and Antu prepared, for the sign in the heavens its start was awaiting. On Enlil's instructions, Zumul, who in matters of stars and planets was learned, the steps of the house of Antu ascended, the rising of the planets at eventime to announce. On the first step, Kishar in the eastern skies appeared. Lahamu on the second step was seen. Mumu on the third step was announced. Anshar by the fourth step arose. Lamu on the fifth step was seen. The moon from the sixth step was announced. Then, on a signal from Zamul, the hymn, The Planet of Antu in the Sky Rises, began to be sung. From the topmost step, the seventh, the red-haloed Nibiru into view came. To music the Anunnaki clapped and danced. To music they danced and sang. To the one who grows bright, the heavenly planet of the Lord Antu, they sang. On the signal a bonfire was lit, seen from place to place where the bonfire started. Before the night was over, the whole land of Eden was with bonfires lit. After a meal of bull meat and ram meat, of fish and fowl, with wine and beer accompanied. Antu and Antu to their overnight quarters were accompanied. By Antu and Antu were all the Anunnaki thanked. For several earth days and nights Antu and Antu slept. On the sixth day his two sons and daughter Antu summoned. Of what had on earth transpired their accounts he heard. Of the peace and the warfare he learned. Of how the earthlings, by the oath of Enlil to be wiped off, had again proliferated, Antu heard. Of the gold discovery in the land beyond the oceans, and the chariots placed there, Enlil to him revealed. It was then that of the dream and the tablet from Galzu, Enki to his father told. By that was Antu greatly puzzled. A secret emissary, by that name, to the earth by me was never sent. So did Antu to the three leaders say. Puzzled were Enki and Enlil. Baffled they at each other looked. On account of Galzu, Ziasudra and the seed of life were saved, Enki said. On account of Galzu, on earth we remained, Enlil to his father said. The day to Nibiru you return, you shall die. So did Galzu to us say. Incredulous of that was Antu. The change of cycles indeed havoc did cause, but with elixirs cured was. Whose emissary, if not yours, was Galzu? Enki and Enlil in unison said. Who the earthlings to save wanted, who on earth made us stay. Nanarsag her head slowly nodded. For the creator of all did Galzu appear. Was the creation of the earthlings also destined? Of that I must wonder. For a while the four of them were silent, each one past events in his heart recounted. While fates we decreed, the hand of destiny every step directed, so did Antu say. The will of the creator of all is clear to see. On earth and for earthlings, only emissaries we are. The earth to the earthlings belongs. To preserve and advance them we were intended. If that is our mission here, let us accordingly act, so did Enki say. The great Anunnaki who the fates decree counsels exchanged regarding the lands. To create civilized regions the Anunnaki decided, therein knowledge to mankind provide. Cities of man to establish, therein sacred precincts abodes for the Anunnaki create. Kingship as on Nibiru on earth establish, crown and scepter to a chosen man give. By him the word of the Anunnaki to the people convey, work and dexterity to enforce. In the sacred precincts a priesthood to establish, the Anunnaki as lofty lords to serve and worship. Secret knowledge to be taught, civilization to mankind convey. To create 4 regions, 3 for mankind, 1 restricted, the Anunnaki resolved. The first region in the olden Eden land to establish, for Enlil and his sons to dominate. The second region in the land of the 2 Narrows thereafter to follow, for Enki and his sons to lord. The third region, with the other 2 not mingling, in a distant land to Inanna grant. The fourth region for the Anunnaki alone consecrated, the peninsula of the place of the chariots, will be.